Good morning and welcome to our third week of our series on spiritual practices. And today we're going to be focusing on the category of service. So, this would be spiritual practices that are about how we incarnate Christ in the world through our actions and our service. This can also be called practices of social action or to talk about what James writes in the Bible in the New Testament, works. And so there's this wonderful passage about faith versus works that I want to read to you. It's James 2, verses 14 to 18. What does it profit, my brothers and sisters, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can faith save him? If someone is naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you says to them, "Depart in peace, be warmed and filled," but you do not give them the things which are needed for the body, what does it profit them? Thus also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. But someone will say, "You have faith and I have works. Show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works." So there are a number of practices that and there's sort of a lot of overlap with some of them, but so I'm going to just break them down into, I don't know, 6 or 7 of the different categories of service related spiritual practices. And the first is hospitality. Hospitality is some of the things we already do. Food drives, the Christmas luncheons we do for the bus drivers at Christmas time, taking turns providing Sunday morning coffee and goodies when it's not COVID, inviting newcomers to our home for a meal and fellowship. All of those kinds of things fall under the category of hospitality. I think one of the things that I love about hospitality is that when we are working together for the good of God's people, there is a unifying principle that begins to hold us together. I remember years ago I was visiting a pastor friend in California, and his church and another church, which was I think probably a Baptist church, were sponsoring a food drive in the parking lot of a big grocery store like a Fred Meyer or something like that. And he roped me into coming to help because they were shorthanded and people were bringing food right and left and center. And so here I was kind of anxious about being with people who were Baptist or evangelical, and was just wondering if I was gonna, hear some of the ways that they believe. And of course, there was none of that. But there was this wonderful camaraderie and shared joy at how much food we were receiving to help people. And there was a wonderful unity and natural rhythm to our work together. And it was a wonderful experience, and I still remember it to this day. So I think about that, the way that working together to help God's children is a very unifying thing to do. One of the other practices is stewardship. And it's not just about money. As I love this phrase. It's from when people become members or get baptized into the church. This is in our hymnals, and we probably recognize it as soon as we hear it. That we have to say as part of our liturgy, which goes, "As members of this congregation, will you faithfully participate in its ministries by your prayers, your presence, your gifts, and your service?" Your gifts are not just about money, but also the sharing of your time and your talents. How can you best serve your church? What are the gifts that you have, your God-given gifts that you can share? What's your passion? What is the thing you love to do? And how can you share that? I want to remind you again, we now have a name for our new team. It's called the Dream Team. And so I just want to remind you again that if you get ideas that are come out of your passion, please share with them with us, and we'll try to make that happen. And we appreciate all ideas, and so don't hesitate to call on us. The third category of service as social practice is justice work. So by that I mean advocacy for people of populations that are kind of on the outside, that need people to support them and to fight for their rights for things. Jesus and the prophets talked time and time again about taking up the cause of the widows and orphans, of the aliens in our midst, which to them was what we would call immigrants from foreign lands. Paul preached the equality of all people in his passage from Galatians. It's chapter 3, verse 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. So I believe that as followers of Christ, we are called to live out this challenge to advocate for those in our society who are being treated as less than, who are persecuted for the color of their skin, their sexual orientation, or their religious beliefs. When we champion these causes, we're doing kingdom work. And another practice is care of the earth. In Genesis, God made humankind stewards of this earth we were given. Sadly, we have pillaged it and somehow along the way forgotten what our responsibility was to God, to care for this earth. So anything we can do to heal our environment is a spiritual practice. Recycling, reducing our consumption of water, electricity, gas, consumer goods, all of those things are important first steps as we work for the benefit of our planet. And I think part of that is also enjoying our planet. Going out into this beautiful place we call home to hike, walk, take photographs. The more time we spend in nature, communing with the earth, the more we will want to preserve it. And that is what God asks from us. And then any service that we can do for the poor, the disadvantaged, and the homeless. That kind of service is another of the spiritual practices in this section. So let's just talk about a few of them. Volunteering at the community cupboard or Mend thrift store or their free medical and dental clinic, as many of us do already, is a wonderful way, and it's fun. I do like one morning a week at the community cupboard, and I just love interacting with the people and feeling I'm doing something that makes a difference for these people, that puts food in their bellies and allows them to have one less thing to worry about. Maybe it's buying a meal for someone who's begging on the corner of Highway 2 and Safeway and has their sign up, please help. Buying them a hamburger from McDonald's to fill the empty hole in their stomach. That's another thing you can do. Collecting clothes for families who lose their homes in a fire, that kind of thing. I remember somebody who had just gotten a new job and lived in that trailer park across from Safeway and needed tools. And so I know a lot of people went home and rummaged through their tools to find something they didn't need or they had duplicates of, and take them so that the father of this family could work and not have to buy tools right up front. any way that we can respond with a helping hand when a need arises is important and helpful. Sometimes it's for one of the people in our midst, sometimes it's not. I remember a couple of years ago, probably, there was a man who came to church. He was clearly homeless, and he shared during our joys and concerns that he was looking for a job. He was traveling through, and you know, he was smart and capable, and not the typical person that you associate with being homeless. And I'm pretty sure that Tom was not the only one who slipped him some money after church so that he could get from here to Seattle area and try to find a job there. I also remember the young people. There were 3 young people that had come from South Africa or someplace like that to do some work. They had a job at 59er Diner, and they were going to stay in the cabins back behind. And just before they got here, it burned down. And we helped them find a place to stay. We helped them find a job, and it salvaged their summer. And so all of these are ways that we can engage in spiritual practice in an active and visible way, ways that we can embody through our actions the nature of Christ and the works that God calls us to do in the world. Our faith is not contained by the walls of our church building. Through these acts of service, we are taking God's love out into the streets and being visible in the community so that people know that we love God and we love them, and we want to share that love in as many ways as we can. So that is our discussion on practices that include service to our brothers and sisters in Christ. And so next week we will be talking about the more contemplative practices. That's where I live. Those are my favorites and the things that help me the most. And so I look forward to sharing that with you. Again, I would love to hear any comments from you, any things that you would like me to just discuss further or elaborate on some more. But that's it for now, and I will see you next week. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.